This thing is a priest in the United States. Um, I got this copy from this a gentleman who's a lawyer sent this copy to me, and he wanted this copy just before 5 o'clock, just at 1 minute after 1 minute by 5 o'clock, 1 minute past 5 o'clock. I got this copy from this. I got this copy from the. Thank you. I got this copy from a gentleman who is looking at this thing and I suppose taking a position on this Trump scenario because, like I tell you, everyone in every chat room they praising Trump. They love Trump. They love Trump. I can tell you that now. They can't wait to see what's going to happen officially in the Bahamas. But no one is really talking about that yet. But here's some things what this man sent to me today. This lawyer, famous lawyer, sent it to me today. And I'm going to play it for you right now so you can get the idea of how people are thinking about President Donald Trump.
Father David here. 40 years ago, the famous newsman Walter Cronkite bemoaned how entertainment was infiltrating what used to be the serious news business, as more and more that which titillated became front and center when passed as news, and the hard objective facts took a back seat. The famous slogan, "If it bleeds, it leads," ran the news department. Well, fast forward 40 years, and what we find today is the entertainment industry has now taken over every aspect of our life, from our mega churches that provide us with Starbucks and rock and roll bands so that we can shake our boogie to Jesus without actually being transformed or changed, to our daily lives where so much of our time is spent staring into our phones or tablets or other screens. And now, finally, the entertainment business has taken over the wheels of power. While the clowns used to fall out of tiny cars at center stage in the circus, now the clowns are falling into the Oval Office. TV personalities are taking over the most important reins of power, people with little or no qualifications, and many of them with even less character. It took 250 years for serious people to make this country what it has become. It may take only a few years for the clowns to dismantle it. And as we, the audience, sit in rapt attention, watching this fiasco unfold on stage, when the curtain does finally fall, it probably won't be because of a nuclear war or economic collapse. It will simply be that the clouds have destroyed what serious people took so long to build. And when the curtain rises again, the clowns will all be gone, and it will simply be us in the audience left to pick up and remake and hopefully rebuild what the clowns have destroyed. God bless us all.
See, that's what I'm talking about. So that's somebody who was of the opinion that he agrees with what this man is saying. And Donald Trump saw that. He'll say, clowns? What clowns? What clowns is he talking about? The point what I'm making is that the man is serious. And that's a Catholic priest. That's a Catholic priest from the United States who inside the day had to say those things because he felt compelled to say those things. That's because of this whole matter with President Donald Trump, with the men of ICE, with the security men in the country who in fact want to extract the many people who have been there for many years. There was another video I saw the other day that talked about these people have been, say, what is America? America is a hodgepodge of all kind of people who made up from every different ethnicity and every culture and everything in the world in America. That's what it is. That's what America is. So he's asking the question, well, so who's a foreigner? Who's an outsider? That's what he's asking, this gentleman. He's asking, well, who's the foreigner? Who's the outsider? Everybody who is in America came from somewhere and it ain't that place. It's a hodgepodge of different cultures, different ethnicities, and all those things, different nationalities that makes up America. See, and so people are now becoming very, very glued in on this whole matter with the Donald Trump extractions. That's what's happening. I thought I'd let you know. Today we've got in our studio today with us Lincoln Bain. Lincoln Bain is here because there's so many things that we have to talk about today. So many things that are very, very important that we must talk about. One of those things happened to be the Donald Trump situation. One of those things happened to be what's going to happen now because everything else on the ground locally seems to be in a state of, free fall. Nobody's doing anything much about anything. I see Michael Pinton has been saying what he has to say. Brave Davis has been saying what he has to say. Lincoln Bain has been trying to say what he has to say. And we don't seem to have any real operations right now to really look at this thing wholeheartedly and decide what's going to happen for the entire country that we call the Bahamas, this place where we live, this place where everybody wants to be, apparently. So today, I wanted to invite Mr. Lincoln Bain so we can talk about a number of things, not only just the COI, but look at the national plans for this country and looking at some things. And I hope I'm not preempting him to say anything that he doesn't want to say, but I'm looking at the whole national plan for this country overall as to what's going to happen in the face of this whole immigration situation that we've been looking at, this migration situation, this people coming back here and wanting to take up residence and all that kind of stuff. What's going to happen futuristically now as we walk down the lane going toward an election and, all kinds of things going to be sudden and strange and crazy. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So Lincoln Bain, welcome, my friend, to the show today here this afternoon on Peaceful 7.5 FM, the home of hard copy. And we thank you so much for coming. How are you?
I am awesome, Steve, and thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let me just make sure I can put you right there on the camera so they can see that this is Lincoln Bain. I've got a little situation there for sure. Let me just deal with that. Lincoln Bain on television today with me on Peace 107.5. These things happen sometimes. These are just machines, so they are. We're crazy and stuff like that. Lincoln Bain, there you go. Handsome fellow. What's been happening, man? I don't know where to start from because really the truth is so much things have been happening in a strange fashion.
Yeah.
Perhaps you can look at this whole matter, what we were talking about just now, about the Trump element, the Trump episode, what people are now feeling. And first and foremost, let me just ask you, Trump is doing the right thing in your view? Trump is doing the wrong thing in your view? What is Trump doing and how much is that going to affect we, the Bahamian people in our Bahamas?
Trump is doing exactly what I will do. He's doing nothing different than what I would do. But before we get into Trump, I just wanted to bring something to the public's attention.
Okay.
I had an interesting experience today. I got a call about an incident that happened over the weekend, last week really, and they told me that a girl was abducted. All right. And the laws in our countries needs to change. But I'll get to that. A girl had a baby. She says who the father is, and they're saying that the father never signed for the child. The child is now 5 years old. and that he never claimed the child. That's
Okay.
what I'm hearing. And
Mhm.
there's always different sides of
Right.
stories.
Absolutely.
But I can see that he never signed for the child. So he has no rights to the child. So it's not like he signed, but he's a single father who doesn't have rights. He didn't sign. They said that she took him to court to get him to do a DNA, and he refused to do the DNA, uh, saying that is not his child. And so she got sick, and yet last week Monday went in hospital, and Wednesday he came for the child and took the child from the grand aunt who was keeping the child along with the grandmother. But the grand aunt was home. He took the child, and they called him and told him we have to bring the child back. And so he brought the child back, and then he came back Friday, gone, and took the child again.
This is social services calls that they have picked that child.
No, this the family,
Family.
the
Okay.
child's grand aunt and grandmother, I guess, said bring this child back. All right, you had no rights to take the child, whatever. And they have a recording of the mother of the child who's in the hospital saying, Y'all should not have let him take my child." And so he came back Friday, and this time he came to take the child, and he took the child by force. He, they're alleging that he hit the grand aunt, he choked her out violently and hit her and took the child because the child ran to her and was holding on to her. Now she's disabled, she can't walk, the grand aunt. And so she didn't want to be, abused in that way. And so she crying and unwillingly let the child go because the man was, she says, attacking her. And he took the child, all right, with nothing, no clothes on, and just took the child and gone. She called the police came, and they took her complaint. Um, Complaint of abduction, trespassing, uh, assault and battery, and he was choking her out, strangulation. Um, and so the police went looking for him, and then all of a sudden, everything stopped. I guess he's connected, or someone knows something, knows someone, because all of a sudden they said, okay, we'll just have a meeting on with social services on Sunday. The mother's side of the family said they weren't aware of when this meeting would be, and there was a meeting with the the fellow's now saying he's the father, even though he didn't sign and didn't accept. The child has the same name as the mother, not the father, and the mother side wasn't there, and so it was a one-sided thing, and so the grand aunt and the grandmother called the station and found out what's going on. Why haven't y'all dealt with this? They said, well, we had a meeting yesterday and y'all didn't come. He's like, we didn't know about any meeting. And how could you have a meeting without us? And the superintendent says, yeah, well, your story changed. First you said the person wasn't the father, and now he's saying he is the father. And so it's not abduction, and we turn it over to social services, which is curious to me. And the person she was talking to was the second officer in charge of the Grove Police Station. All right, that's where that's where it becomes curious to me, because second officers in charge or officers OCs don't deal with investigations. They don't
Yeah.
deal with that kind of
Very
stuff.
true. Very true.
And so when they called me and informed me, I went with the grandmother to the station, and the sergeant and the ASP, who's in charge of inquiries or deals investigations, said is above their head because the officer in charge, the second officer in charge, Mr. Sweeting at the Grove Police Station, is dealing with it. So I said to him, I said, well, I'm a police officer. We was on the force together. And I've never seen a second OC investigating any matters. I've never experienced that. Steve, you were police.
Yes.
Have you ever seen that?
Mm-mm.
It doesn't happen. And so they said, well, he's investigating it himself and we can't do nothing. And that's curious because there was a complaint made on Friday about the assault and battery and the strangulation and the attack. So if you're going to make an issue about the abduction part of it and the custody part of it, okay. But this is Monday now. The fella was in the station on Sunday. That's what y'all are saying. And y'all ain't lock him up. And so I told the ASP who was in charge of inquiries, that makes me think that there's some skullduggery going on. And so they then, they gave me a wink, but didn't, say anything, you
Mm.
know. But they said no. OCs normally don't deal with investigations, but it's above them, so that's it. And so they told me call social services. I did. I went to social service. I just came from there. That's why I came to you late. I was at the protection
Mhm.
section, and the minute I spoke to the ladies there, they were like, "Hold on, wait. The father didn't sign for the child, or the man didn't sign for the child. Then he has no right to come there and take the child. Even if you put aside the assault,
Mhm.
he has no right to come there and just take the child. He never signed for the child, never claimed the child, et cetera, et cetera." And so they said, but the superintendent should know that. He should know that. I mean, we deal with these stuff every day. I I said I spoke to the superintendent and he told me, as far as he knows, it's not abduction. I said, according to Section 5 of the Sexual Offences Act, I quoted it to him. I said, this is abduction because the mother has the right. The person did not sign to say he's the father.
That's right.
All right. I would be sympathetic if it's a father who signed for their child
Right.
and they just want, right. But he ain't signed for the child. All right. And so he has no right to come there and just take the child. It's laid out clearly
It
in
is.
the law.
I understand.
It's abduction. All right. And so that's why even when you're dealing with the school, yeah, the parent turn you over to the school, but if they want to move you from the school and take you on a field trip, they got to get permission from the parent.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's abduction. And I said, as a senior officer, you know this. But the fact that one, you're investigating this, and the fact that two, you're pretending not to know the law, that means that you're incompetent or corrupt. All right. And that's what I have a problem with.
So would you have gone to his boss, Mrs. Knowles, who's in charge now as the
No, I'm just dealing with this. I wanted to hurry up and deal with social services. So we went to deal with social services before they closed. And social services said this is a clear case of abduction. Just, you can't go and just take the child. And now that the person who had the child is saying that you violently took the child, you attacked them, then they should have been investigated. But the fact also that they didn't even move a step with investigating that part of it shows that there was a cover up.
yes.
And so while I was here on the way to you, the mother of the male who took the child called me. Um, she's a well known person. All right. And I don't want to describe who she is because I don't want to expose her
Yes.
because it's a
Understood.
sensitive matter. But she's a well known person and she's a union leader. All right. Um, she called me and she gave me another side of the story, which I do appreciate that, he didn't, for some reason, didn't get a chance to sign, whatever, just 5 years later now. And he did an affidavit, but the JP didn't like something, so they never went through with it. That he um, wants to take care of the child, he wants to be a good father, etc. That the mother, has some issues, health issues. Okay, I understand all of that. Um, but I said I want to know if he assaulted the grand aunt as he was taking this child. Well, I can't say yes or no, but I don't want to destroy a good young man. And he seems to be a striving young man. He has a good job. Um, they say he has two buses on the road and a boat. I don't like the law that doesn't give fathers the right to their children. And you would know that I fought the Baby Bella case along with Maria because of that. But this is a case where you didn't sign for this child. All right. And I hate that law, and we're going to change that law immediately when we get in because the man should have not as much rights as the woman because you will lock him up if he don't pay. All right.
For
But
sure. He
at the
get locked
same
up for sure.
time, what I hate is police interference. And it's almost like anytime the the a person is known or has some connection, they treat investigations different. For the regular everyday Joe, they railroad you. All right. But if you are connected to someone, and the grandmother told me that the grandfather, well, the mother of the man said that the father of the man knew police officers, so he called to get some stuff straight because they were looking for him. They came, I guess, his job or whatever, looking for him to arrest him. And then the father of the young man made some calls, and all of a sudden, it's nothing. We have to change this in this country. All right. Now, I understand the sensitiveness of the situation. That's why I'm not calling anyone's names. Although before talking to her, I had every intention to do so. But we have to change a situation where when you're connected to so and so, there's a different rule for you than for everyone else. All right? That has to change, Steve. And persons who are higher up may cause the senior police officers who they gave a promotion and put in that position, and they just do what they're told. So I don't know if it's that senior police officer, because it's curious to me that a second officer in charge of a station literally is investigating this matter and that no one else can touch it. That this man wasn't even questioned. Now you'll see what will happen if it's an MP who was accused of something. They'll take months to even question him or call him in. They wouldn't even call his name when they give the report.
Part of the law is not fair.
Yeah, you see?
It better be fair.
Exactly. And so in this is wrong, and it continuously happens. So I'm going to see what the police do, because that's clear abduction. All right. Now, the problem is, if that is a young man who wants to take care of his child, and no one else is able to, you don't want to end that.
Yes.
All right. But my thing today is the police shouldn't be interfering in these matters. If you want to have a confrontation, which the police do sometimes, you bring the families together and say, man, listen, man, you all resolve this. Don't let this go to whatever. But don't just treat the law like it doesn't exist. It's simple as that. So I just wanted to make that clear. All right. The reason I'm making that clear is because the girl who was abducted, in my view, is my grandniece. All right. The mother of that girl is my niece. The woman who was allegedly assaulted in all of this is my sister. And the grandmother of the child is my sister, is also my sister. All right. And so I don't want anyone to think that, Steve, you have females in your family.
Of course I do.
I'm sure you have a sister or something.
Absolutely.
And if you hear that someone came and did choke your sister and did so and so, you wouldn't sit down on that.
I understand.
I can't sit down on that. All right. I don't ever bring my personal situations to the public. I've never done that. I've never used my platform to deal with anything personal, but I hate the corruption part of it.
So far deep
Yeah.
inside.
If anything, bring them together, man. Y'all know the situation. The mother has health issues. The father saying he's gonna take care of the child moving forward. Y'all resolve this, but don't treat one side like they are nothing and ignore a complaint, which is illegal. A police officer, once he gets a complaint, has to deal with that. Just like the courts has to deal with a matter if they get a complaint. All right, if a charge comes before them. And so that's what I wanted to address.
I appreciate that.
And so I just want Officer Sweeting to know that he should know the law. He should know what abduction is. Or if he doesn't, he needs to resign. It's simple as that.
Well, there's no space for people like that who don't know or pretend they don't know what the laws are, because you must know. That's why people trust you. That's why people have police officers in their midst, and they run to you because they expect you to know what is happening. And not only that you're going to be fair when you deal with things of lawbreakers and people like that. You have to be fair, and you must be honest. See, that word honest has gone out of the vocabulary of the Bahamas big time. The word honest. We have to be honest about things, and that's what the big thing is in the Bahamas right now. We're not honest at all about anything anymore, because it's like we are on this free ride. As I said earlier, we're on this free fall. Anything can happen in this town, and it should not happen in this town. And that's one of the reasons why I understand what you're saying, and I sympathize and empathize with you on this particular matter. And I'm hoping that that whole matter is resolved quickly without any kind of fuss. And this does not come to a head because of the fact that, when you touch one, you touch all. And when you touch one person who has been a victim of a situation in the Bahamas, we all feel it.
I like to read the
It's a
law
sure thing.
to the public, Steve,
Absolutely.
and I want to read what abduction is. All right. And this is clearly what abduction is. Section 5. And I'm reading this to Superintendent Sweeting of the Grove Police Station. Superintendent Sweeting, abduction that I quoted to you is Section 5 of the Sex Offenders Act. A person is guilty of abduction of another person who, with intent to deprive any person entitled to the custody, that's the mother, or control, that was the grand aunt, of that other person, or of such custody or control, A, unlawfully takes that other person from the lawful custody, care, or charge of any person. So if you don't have custody, you cannot take that child from any person. That is clear abduction. There's no ifs, ands, or but about that. All right. So, but the law twists and contorts when there's people who are connected. I don't know what the connection is, so it's just an assumption to me because of who's dealing with it and what was said to me that it's not abduction or whatever. And they said it's because it's the father. And they said they had a voice note from the mother saying that she didn't want the aunt to keep the aunt to have the child or whatever. That's an old voice note, the grandmother admitted to me, from years ago. And I said, well, if that was years ago, that's not relevant. But they let the police hear that voice note. And I said to the superintendent, but you didn't confirm that that's the mother saying that. Anyone could come to you with a voice recording and say that this is the mother.
Voice recordings again, eh?
Yeah, anyone could come to you and say this the mother, and she say she don't want to keep the child. I said, what you did was slack and careless. And he went quiet.
I got a text that says, good evening, Steve. Lincoln is absolutely correct. The father has absolutely no rights to his child. If the man fails to pay, he is locked up. That is for sure. But this particular fellow has absolutely no right to do what he has done, as reported by Lincoln today. That's what the fellow said on the text. Now, I hear what you're saying, and we have to look at the clock. 5 minutes past 6 o'clock. And we wanted to really get into this whole situation with the Trump situation as it relates to what's happening in the Bahamas. And I want to find out from you, what is it that we have to do and what is it that we should be doing now, because the government has not said anything much at this particular time. We've just been sitting back and waiting, and I suppose waiting until Trump decides that this is what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And that doesn't rest well with me as a person, because you see, where I live right now, I'm surrounded by these people. And these people don't have any grace. They are carrying on badly all the time. In Fort Charlotte, they're carrying on badly.
And they're getting biggity.
And they're really out of control. Honestly, they are. I've not been complaining about it because I'm trying to see how best I can talk with them and have them relax themselves, because you cannot be up 3 a.m. in the morning shouting and carrying on with one another. I mean, please. I don't know what's happening, but our country is not ours anymore. I'm just tired of it. So my thing is this: what are we going to do? Because I'm sure, like me, there are many people all over this place in the country who have this restless kind of situation here because of them being here, and most of them are illegals. We know they are, because they come to this particular place where, in fact, that's where they gather. I don't know what's happening, but no one is picking them up. They're still having people go into Miami and all that. Even now, they're still doing deed pools and stuff now. I mean, what's going to happen and what's going to become of us as a people?
Loftus Roker said what the problem in this country is. And he said, And he said this under this current administration. He said the country lacks leadership. The country lacks leadership. You know, if it wasn't for myself and the COI exposing this immigration crisis that's going on, we probably would have already been overrun.
Mhm.
The government was pretending that there was no illegal immigration problem. In fact, they came in the paper, what illegal immigration problem? They don't know what we're talking about. Basically, we were lying, but we were being flooded in this country. And we had to go from island to island and expose what was going on. Expose it. Because they have control of the media and they made sure the media didn't cover certain things. And we had to go and expose it. And thank God the Bahamian people were watching. And when they saw the numbers of people watching, they realized that it had to be addressed. You know, we had to go and show the proliferation of shanty towns that was going on in this country. We need strong leadership. Trump is not against migration. He's not against migration. He understands that everyone migrated to America, basically, except the Native Indians, and they probably migrated there. Everyone migrated there. That's not his issue. He's married to an immigrant. Right? The vice president is married to an Indian. Okay? They are not against migration. They are against immigration. And what started to happen in America was it started to become extreme. You can't have 15, 16 million people just come over your border. That's more than most countries in the world, that population. Millions of people just come over your border and just take up residence, and the government was using their money to give these people checks. They gave them a card, and they was putting $5,000 a month on those cards, paying for their expenses, their living expenses, or rent, and et cetera, et cetera. Housing was going in crisis because the landlords could get more money from the government for the illegal immigrants, so they was putting regular persons out, and so there was a crisis. You know, these migrants were committing crimes and being just let go, catch and release. They were being let go. They would do a crime in America and they would take them in and then just let them go again. And it was becoming extreme. Like no one could accept that. And I don't understand how persons who supported Biden and Kamala Harris could not see that Americans would not accept that. The Americans who had to live with that and see that going on every day in their country, they would not accept that. Now that brings us to the Bahamas.
It's a similar situation.
We are in the exact same situation. We have had the illegal immigrants say that they are using our social services to house them, to place them in housing. And so we sounded the alarm about the shanty towns, et cetera, et cetera. So the government used that as an opportunity. And so the government used that as an opportunity to make it look like they're doing something, to make it look like, see, we're breaking down the shanty towns, and then they would have the papers blast on the front page, shanty town demolished. But they would only go and demolish some of the houses in the shanty town. And that's after they have found housing for those persons, then they would break down their houses. All right. And in some instances, they wouldn't talk to them first. They would break it down so that they could have someone crying on the news saying, oh, I don't have nowhere to go. They would make it look good. And then after the news leave, then they'd go to them and say, just go to social services. We got you. You straight. All right. And we heard this directly from the immigrants, that this is what they were doing. All right. And so they were using our resources, the Bahamian people resources, to house these people. And now when you go in every community in this country, as we go knocking on doors, because we've been campaigning, we knock on a house and it doesn't matter where it is, you know. We're not talking about Carmichael Road. We're not talking about Southern Shores or Golden House. We're talking about everywhere in this country, in Seabreeze, outside Susie, out everywhere. They are everywhere. All right, they are finding available apartments and available houses, and they're filling it up with them.
In this area as well.
Yes, they're doing it in every area. We are flooded. We just don't know the extent to it because they're keeping it secret, and the media isn't covering it. The media is compromised.
Well, I'm trying to have the man from the parliamentary register, the commissioner of that, the acting commissioner of that entity, to come to the show. Sometime soon. His name is Leovado Duncanson, the acting parliamentary commissioner. I'm trying to get him to be on the show sometime this week. I'm hoping it's going to be by Wednesday of this week. And hopefully we can get most of these things cleared up and sort away so that we can know exactly what is happening. But go on.
Yeah, and so Trump has taken a strong stance, and it's the exact same stance I've been telling people before election that we would take. All right, had we won the election 2021, we wouldn't have this problem right now. All right. But we're going to be outnumbered soon. This is the last election that we're going to be the majority because of what they are doing. The boats are still coming in. Do you hear them talking about it? No. The people on the family island see the boat coming in. It's like, what we can do? All right. The boat's still coming in.
What are we going to do?
And the planes are still coming in. The airplanes, Bahamas Air is still coming in. And the other flights are coming in every day. Bahamas Air twice a week. They're still coming in. All right, there's no news report about it. They've just gone quiet about it. And you notice what you're not seeing? The repatriations.
Yeah, there's no repatriations at all.
You're not seeing any repatriations.
We expected to see something that happened, but they're saying now, obviously, that what's actually happening is that they don't have a government in place. You follow? And that's why they are saying that they cannot do these kinds of things at this particular time. But we need to see some things happening on the ground in the Bahamas so that the people can feel themselves comfortable with what is happening. That the government is trying to contain this matter.
Steve, the only way that you're going to get change in this is if you remove the PLP and FNM. If the FNM gets in, Pintard is a puppet of Fred Smith. All right, that's who funds him. All right, through Louis Bacon, etc. And you know what Fred Smith agenda is. And that's to flood this country. They were fighting, but notice they ain't fighting now. They're quiet. They just want to put their prime minister in place to do their bidding. All right. And so that's their agenda. And so we gotta fix this. You can't let the PLP come back and continue what they're doing.
Hard copy, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, Steve?
All is well, sir.
Hey, Lincoln Bill, what's up?
I'm awesome. How you doing?
Everything blessed, man. Again, I don't know if you watch the news. Because I only sit back and laugh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Remember you was exposing the coal, I could be wrong, but I think that was about 3 years ago. I even think you talked to
the coal, right.
The coal where they're chopping down the trees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw in the news they went to the exact same spot where I called the police, and the police said they was going to deal with it.
And the thing is, what I said, the humans pull back the lay over the eye. Because they get, like how people is mix the truth with the lies, and I don't know why we refuse to fight, and big up evil and fight down truth. Because I sit right back, that make me feel, I say, this man was saying this about 3 years ago, you know what I mean? Saying about 3 years. Because even if you push back even further, I think Lincoln went where they had some tall coconut trees and stuff like that, where they had another area what was going on. I think the did come on that, right? Now I'm saying, if you listen to the guy from the fire truck who was there, if you was person ask him, how would y'all deal with this? He's saying, well, we might have to send some drone to keep. You don't have to do none of that. You understand what I'm saying, Steve? The thing is, you don't have to.
You can send some drones, to keep an eye on them.
This don't make no sense because I'm saying, Steve, if you look at what Trump doing, you see I back here, right? And then you have to and now they got that and so because they cut down everything like what I say to you. I'm saying to you is if our government follow this man lead, because do you know there's an area where they try to say what was clear when Mr. Bean was saying that he was on his show and he was showing an area where it was it was trees. You had the natural trees there. Then when he says this year comes, you notice, the man was a lion. So I said, because I said, but I kind of said, I didn't know he could be on your show. But sir, you was a lion. And the thing is, what I'm saying is, that's a threat to the Bahamas in every way.
Yes.
Don't we have, do you know what countries do when they feel like they're under threat? And both of you all as officers, do you know what they do when they feel the country's under threat? I think they employed a National Guard or something, right?
Yeah.
Just like what they did with Lincoln Bean when he was just farming the things on the property, following the same model what the Haitians were doing, right? Why the guards being there, and I talk about clearing out the whole area because my thing is, even if they're in the back there, I don't want to hear no more about woman, child, sister, brother, and no, he no more that. Because you're in your bag of maybe back then when I didn't know what was going on, empathy for them set might have been rampant. But now you can't come to me and tell me because here's what I'm saying. And I following the model of what Trump John Zah said. First, he was saying we going after the killers, murders, this. But if he catch you, you come in the country legal, then use collateral damage. So let me use the word. Once you break into this country, it's a crime. So the two police officers were on the panel right now. Am I right or wrong?
Yes,
You're right.
correct. That's correct.
All right. So now, if you have a kid, when you break into the country, it's not because I feel once you apply, because you all need to straighten this piece out. They like to use this little portion of the Constitution where they say, once you they have the right to apply. They might have a right to apply if they came into the country the right way. I feel if your parents break into this country, the only right they have to apply is to the immigration officer to ask them what time to leave. Because you can't be telling me something wrong, what is right. I'm going to be the immigration children. You see what they do right now on social media? They had something the last time saying the Bahamas will do this to them and do this to them and be like this and them. So I saying this. Name me one law, name me something that the Bahamian people did to Haiti. That's one. I'll sit back and wait. Name me something that the Bahamian people did to Haitian people in their country.
They've only been kind.
Well, I can tell you what we did to them. We educated their children free of charge. We gave them health care. We took care of their children and their people, and we hired them and gave them jobs so that they can eat. We were good to them.
So, all right. So now, Lincoln, I have a question to you because I pledged to throw my vote, and I under the tree, just but I spit the fire on your behalf. But we have a question, or 20 of us. And I tell them, I'll call, be under the tree right now. So I can put you on speakerphone since they asked me to ask you, because I feel like me and Steve kind of should develop a little thing. You know what I mean? So let me ask you a question. I just put something out there. If a couple, and I say that because they're burning down our trees, that's our resources, right? Yes or no? They're burning that. They're digging into our water wells. They're building homes. And why don't the government take hold of this? That's part one. But I'm asking what you can do. Because you know you have a lot of passports out there, a lot of blue box, and I don't care how you feel about this, hate it, love it, or whatever, they are coming back. And if they don't, Trump will put tariffs on the Bahamas. You know that, right? I think Brandon Davidson trying to get ahead of this by saying, oh, we don't have to buy from the middleman. That's a little tip-top to the states. Like they said, okay, Florida getting most of our money, Miami and Florida, because that's where we go to shop. You agree with that, right? Bahamas is dump most. They build the Miami market, the Miami and Florida market. Now we moving up Jacksonville. You see what I said? So that's how money comes.
Brave is an imbecile. The government doesn't buy products in this country. So him saying we cutting out the middleman, who is cutting out the middleman? The government ain't gonna be buying meat and vegetables, etc., etc. He is just flamming. It's garbage. And he is saying that the wholesalers are now gonna start to complain about it. He also said that while he was talking in the end, because it's the wholesalers who buy. You can't tell them where to buy from. So what Brave is saying is like when he talked about the whistle to solve crime, to give every woman a whistle. It's just absolute garbage.
And not only that, Lincoln, I asked Steve this the other day. Do you know the tax? Let me give you an example. Let's just say if I have a car company, me and you then negotiate with the car and cost, right? Let's just say you buy a car from me. I to the States and you to the Bahamas. Please negotiate. Me and you then negotiate. Hey, I can sell you the car for $12. It doesn't matter what the president say he can raise car. Here is a car for me. I already and you. We already negotiate with the car and cost. The car can cost $12. Now, what can happen is you can still get that car for $12, but because they raised the tariff, now when you pass it on to the consumer, that's where that goes up. Research it, and that's how everything's operating. That's why I'm asking you, sir. You have people that is destroying the country. I have one basic thing. The ones who are coming back there, that's a different problem. Here's what I'm saying. If somebody come into this island, a parent, and they have kids that is old enough or whatnot, are you prepared to say, hey, because you came in, because it's a crime, you came into this country illegal. Because we don't even have to go to the country with that, because I sit down and listen to Donald Trump's he said, once they break the law, by coming in there, they break the law. It doesn't matter how long the law catch up with them.
Let me help you.
But just your substantive question really is the question you posed.
Yeah.
Earlier. So let Lincoln answer that, and you can always call me back. All right. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right.
You know a man by his actions, not by his words, because words are just words. I am a person who has been fighting, exposing the coal making that was making Bahamians sick and destroying our forests. We went and occupied the forest on the northern side of Carmichael Road and stopped them from being able to make coal over there moving forward. And so that has been my actions. All right. You would know that the famous imagery of me shooting a gun in the air and telling persons, don't come back. All right. Because we ain't playing. And guess what? They didn't come back. I'm serious. I've told everyone that once the COI wins, I'm going to be the Minister of Immigration. I will have no one to answer to. All right? No one. I will be the Minister of Immigration. And my actions have showed you that I'm serious. I've exposed what is going on fearlessly. They've told me, don't go in the shanty town. They can do voodoo on you and all this kind of talks. All this nonsense. Oh, then people could chop you up in the middle there. Well, then they have to do it. This is my country. Me one will take on the 15 million if I have to. I have no problem with migration. I have no problem with you coming to my country. Come the right way. All right. So I'm going to deal with that in a strong way. Moving forward under the COI, there will be no more naturalizations. If you are not a Bahamian by birth, you will never become a paper Bahamian. You can get work permit. You can get a residency if you've been living here and contributing. You will never be able to vote in our elections ever. And you will never be able to run for high office in this country. That will never happen again in this country because we have to protect the integrity of our nation because every nation around us outpopulates us. So at any time, they could come and take us over because we're under democracy and majority rules.
Well, how come our leaders presently today don't have those kinds of ambition?
They're making money from it, Steve. This is a big money thing. Every head that comes on that boat has to pay some crooked politician thousands of dollars. We've heard numbers from $8,000 to $20,000 depending on what they want. All right. Everyone who comes on that plane with their visa, we're hearing that there's scandals where they're paying. It used to be $2,500, but now it's up to we're hearing $5,000 and $8,000 for a visa. All right, to be able to come here, and then they pay for the extension, then they pay for a work permit. All right, and then they pay for other papers later.
So these visas and stuff, these are something that happens through the American embassy, or this is something that is
the Bahamian visa. The Haitians in Haiti get a Bahamian visa from our, and there's been many scandals over the years that have been exposed from our embassy, and that's why even throughout all the turmoil, they didn't want to close that because money was making, buddy. And they allowing Bahamas Air to continue to go there because money making, buddy.
Well, isn't it interesting how that right now we have a situation where they're still letting people into the country, still letting people do deed pools and the rest of it. All of these things are happening in time right now, record time, and the people are still going over into Fort Lauderdale and places like that.
We are going to change.
So we've not even stopped and paused and say, well, right now Donald Trump is on the high end. He's not a good man as far as we can say. No government has actually said that to say, well, we better stop this right now because things ain't right now for us to even do our funny business that we've been trying to do. They have said nothing. So the people are still doing what they're doing right up to the date. Right up to today's date, they're still having people who are getting their passports and going off on
the PLP and F&M is making money from this. All right. The F&M is not gonna stop it because Fred Smith, that's his agenda, and he's the financer of Pintard. And so if he gets in, it's gonna be even worse. They're gonna have. Remember, he was the one who stopped them from breaking down the shanty towns, from arresting those people, from doing what they were supposed to do. And they were him and Pintard and them together. Where
did he get this money from? Fred ain't got no money.
No, from Louis Bacon.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, Louis Bacon had issues with Nygaard, and so Fred Smith and Pintard them was using that, and the F&M was using that to pull money from Louis Bacon to do their bidding. All right, and so it's going to get worse if Michael Pintard gets in power. It's going to be much worse. They went and lied on the Bahamas. That's treason. They lied. They put out booklets. Yeah, they went to the UN. They put out booklets saying that our immigration, have dogs biting the immigrants and that kind of stuff, and all kind of lies they put out there, imagery. to deceive the world about what was happening here. Now this Pintad man wants to be leader of this country over my dead body. Over my dead body.
That's not going to happen.
That is treason, what he was a part of. Treason. That's over my dead body. All right? So Bahamians mightn't care about their country. But if Bahamians don't care about their country and they just allow this infidel to become prime minister, that's reason to fight.
Understood. Well, listen, we're not finished yet. We've got a lot of things to talk about. It's 6:28. It's the time right now. I've got to run and take a break and pay some bills. We'll come back in a minute.
We're going to take a break, ladies and gentlemen. The mic is going to be muted, so we'll be back in a sec.
Position is with regard to all these matters. This is domestic policy of the United States. It's none of our business, right? So whatever they decide about their rules, they are our rules. We have a set of values ourselves, and remember that citizenship in our own country.
You just send this to me,
by birth in the place.
That's why I said
citizenship of the Bahamas by descent, not by birth in the place.
So I'm saying to you, they have not said anything at all on this whole matter. So now I have this, I can just play a little.
Perfect.
So you see what I'm saying?
Perfect.
You're taking it from that birthright citizenship thing. I'm not talking that. But the point is, they said something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to miss it because I didn't play it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
You're so busy listening.
Right now. So.
The most important thing in life is family. And whenever you need reliable advice, look to the people you trust. At J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers, we earn our clients' trust every day. Whether it's home, loan, travel, or commercial insurance,
said something and then we get back into what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Or visit jsjohnson.com.
That's a good picture of you right there, so I won't move that.
Yeah.
Let them see the leader, man. They got to see the leader. That's how I do it. We got our own way of dealing with these things, man. We know what to do,
Mm-hmm.
We can do our thing.
Yeah, man.
I want to ask you a little bit about what's happening with the civilized thing, too.
Yeah.
So that we can bring it ahead and say, yo, this how ready we are. We dead ready. We waiting on them. I want you to say that kind of stuff to me because that is
customer, and I think I know what I'm talking about. Look now for the very pleasant Gwendolyn Davis at telephone numbers 393-6773 or 424-9363. Davis Transmission on Camp Road North, experts in transmission repairs. Mac and Steve High Performance Tire Sales Limited, with 2 locations to better serve the motoring public inside the Superwash Building, Soldier Road, and East Street South, opposite Calvary Deliverance Church. Mark and Steve have the cheapest prices in the Bahamas. None can beat their prices, and we mean nobody. They also sell batteries, jacks, new and used tires. Mark and Steve can also import cars from Japan. Visit them today, the Superwash Building on Soldier Road and the East Street South location opposite Calvary Deliverance Church. Better still, call them at 393-6739 or 394-4262 or 601-3249. Email them at viddy@yahoo.com. It's Mike and Steve Tire Special. They're the Tire Performance Kings in the Bahamas.
What I like about hard copy is after listening to Steve, you have a 411 on what's going on here in the Bahamas. I love what he's doing. He's informing the Bahamians of what's going on. Very informative. I love listening to his show every 5 o'clock. When it's 5 o'clock, it's peace.
Steve is a wonderful guy, and the station is getting all. I love the station. You guys are doing pretty good. Keep it up.
It's an excellent show. Thanks. Very much. That's what it really does. Most of the information that he brings on is things that means people. And I find it very educational.
When the stadium talks, everybody listen. The government just move quick.
Just do some stuff.
Hard coffee, hard coffee, hard coffee. I come to this name of McKinney, Steve's business. You know that for sure. I'm one man to Fridays. We'll give you all more. Hard coffee, hard coffee. I come to this name of McKinney.
6:39. This is breaking news right now. It has been reported that Bahamas Air recently brought in 2 flights with approximately 374 immigrants and Bahamian citizens from the United States of America, whereas the Bahamas government is assisting, apparently, with the deportation of Haitian nationals sent back from that place to this place. And of course, these are Haitian nationals who we're talking about here, this particular one. And so that is breaking news that is happening right now, that just recently, today, sometime, 374 immigrants, and Bahamian citizens from the United States came over, and the deportation thing has already begun, apparently, as far as that information is concerned. Now, there's also something else that I have to tell you today that's happening right now as we spoke. I just got a text from the Honorable Fred Mitchell, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and he has said to us here today that this is what is actually happening. This happened just after 6 o'clock, 6:10. He sent me this text here. So I'm going to just play that for you, and you will hear exactly what is happening, because he's saying now that he's providing an analysis as to what's been happening with this whole thing with Donald Trump and all those in the United States. And here goes, all right?
I know that the specific question that your colleague asked about is this question about birthright citizenship and its impact on Bahamians who give birth in the United States under this executive order in the United States. So we asked our office in the U.S. and our lawyers in the U.S. to have a go at this and give some kind of explanation for it. Now, let me tell you what our basic position is with regard to all these matters. This is domestic policy of the United States. It's none of our business, right? So whatever they decide about their rules, they are our rules. We have a set of values ourselves. And remember that that citizenship in our own country is not conferred by birth in the place, because you get citizenship of the Bahamas by descent, not by birth in the place. So that's the first thing. But that apart, this is their policy. So what the analysis says is this. On the 20th of January 25, United States President Trump signed an executive order titled Protecting the Meaning and Value of American Citizenship, initiating the process to end birthright citizenship, which prevents automatic citizenship to children born in the United States to undocumented immigrants and those in the country on a temporary status, tourist, work, or student visa. The executive order is to come into force 30 days from the date the order was signed, which would be the 19th of February 2025. So what is birthright citizenship? According to the 14th Amendment, Section 1 of the Constitution of the United States, passed by the U.S. Congress on the 13th of June 1866 and ratified on the 9th of July 1868, it states the following. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Remember, this amendment was passed to make it clear that slaves, African slaves, and their children and descendants were citizens of the United States. There was a big argument about whether slaves were actually citizens. So what this suggests is that anyone at birth is classified as a United States citizen. However, the new executive order mandates at least one parent to be a United States citizen or a green card holder for a child to qualify for U.S. citizenship at birth. So what they say the impact or possible impact of Bahamians carrying a non-immigrant visa. According to this advice, all Bahamians carrying a non-immigrant visa, including participants in the visa waiver program, as well as F1 students, E1, B2, that's tourists, H4, H1B, those are temporary work visas, L1, L2, E1, E2, E3, TN, and O1 visa holders will be affected by this executive order. President Trump ordered agencies not to recognize citizenship for children born after the 19th of February 2025. And in accordance with Section 2A of the executive order, it says it is the policy of the United States that no department or agency of the United States government shall issue documents recognizing United States citizenship or accept documents issued by state, local, or other governments or authorities purporting to recognize United States citizenship to persons who are unlawfully present or temporarily present, mother and non-citizen fathers. All right. Tourist visas. Children born to Bahamian mothers carrying a tourist visa will therefore no longer qualify for United States citizenship unless the father is a United States citizen or permanent resident. Employment visas. Children born to Bahamian parents who are on a temporary work visa like the H-1B visa will no longer qualify for United States citizenship, and the parents will likely have to apply for a dependent visa for their children. Student visas. Children born to Bahamian students will likely face challenges obtaining United States citizenship if they are no longer entitled to citizenship at birth. Petitioning. U.S.-born children will lose the ability to petition on behalf of their parents once they turn 21 years of age, as they too will no longer qualify for United States citizenship under the new policy. It should also be noted that Bahamian immigrants who have applied for a green card and experiencing delays are likely to experience further delays. Additionally, active immigration cases may leave Bahamians vulnerable as courts could become overwhelmed. Legal challenges. So immigration advocates have filed several lawsuits challenging the executive order, with some arguing that it violates the 14th Amendment. Additionally, 18 United States attorneys general have filed a lawsuit against the administration, which claims that, quote, the president has no authority to rewrite or nullify a constitutional amendment or duly enacted statute, nor is he empowered by any other source of law to limit who receives United States citizenship at birth as a term injunction in the coming weeks. So that is our analysis of where we are. And it appears, therefore, that the circumstances, I've spoken to this publicly before, the circumstances where women leave this country largely for medical reasons, because the pregnancies are difficult or for other reasons. They go in the hospital in the United States, have the child. It appears that that child, if this order is successful, can no longer claim citizenship at birth of the United States. Therefore, they will have to fall back on their citizenship by descent. So if you're, as you know in our law, if you're a Bahamian woman and you're single, you can get citizenship passed on to the child unless you yourself receive the citizenship by descent, in which case, this stands, the child is stateless. That's another issue. I think international law prevents a child from being stateless, and therefore it would seem, I'm not aware, but it would seem that the place where the child was born would have to recognize citizenship of the child at birth. So all these things have to be. I've also indicated that there are a number of cases where women have had children in the United States and relied on the United States welfare system to have children. And that prevents the person, my understanding is, I'm advised, from getting a visa if you use the U.S. welfare system to go back to travel to the States. Also, if you don't pay the hospital bill, many people have absconded, not paid the hospital bills in the States, you again will be disqualified from getting a visa to enter the U.S. That is my advice and understanding. So that's as much as I can tell you at this point. I guess if you have questions.
Well, that's Fred Mitchell sent me that note just now at 6:10, and I played it for you. Of course, we're going to have to go over it and analyze it to make sure that we get exactly what he's saying as well. He's talking primarily about the first part of it, talking about what the Trump administration may not be able to do, because I told you that last week on the show, that he may not be able to do anything with people who have already been born there. And that he said that last week, the Just Solely situation, I told you about that last week. And so this is a bit of good news here in a way, because now you see some other interventions that now happened that's going to be difficult for Bahamian women in particular to deal with some things that they were dealing with before in the United States. And things have changed. The policies have changed. Donald Trump has a new policy, new executive orders. And so we're going to have to familiarize ourselves with those things again, and bring you up to date more succinctly on those matters in some time from now. But of course, Lincoln Bean is here with me today, and he was right here when, of course, that text came through, that email came through to let me know exactly what was happening. Because we had said earlier that the government had not been saying anything much on this whole matter, and we wanted to know what's happening. And I suppose now you've gotten an idea of what is actually happening. America means business what they're dealing with, and nothing is going to seem to change Trump's mind on where he's going right now with this whole migration problem, this whole sending people back problem to the Bahamas. But some good news were said earlier, and I believe that bit by bit it's going to be worked out between our countries. You heard Mr. Mitchell talked about the whole idea of this whole thing with the tourism and all that kind of stuff, how the tourists will be affected and all that kind of stuff. These things are very, very key. And I believe that, as I told you earlier, Donald Trump is a man who is very, very serious about what he wants to have happen. You saw what they did with Colombia, 25% as far as the sanctions are concerned, and he's going to put it up to about 50% if they don't do what he asks them to get done. And as a result of those things, we have to consider what's going to happen in our situation should it come into full bloom. Now, I want to get a call. I want to talk with Lincoln Bain, the final days analysis. Just give me a second, sir. 1 second, and and find out from you, sir. You heard Mr. said that just now, so you know that things are not usual the way they were before. Now let's talk about that for a second before we move on to your other areas.
Trump is doing what's in the best interest he feels of his country, and I have no problem with someone doing what they feel is in the best interest of their country. We're going to do what's in the best interest of our country, and we need strong leadership to do that. Now, there are persons who are going to challenge him, and that's what the law is about.
Yes.
They're going to probably challenge him, and they're going to try to make it stretch out for the whole 4 years if they have to. But
You'd
they're
be busy with that the whole time. Yeah.
they're gonna
And it's
they're gonna
final
challenge
term.
him. But the president has rights to make certain amendments to the law, especially where there were areas that were up for interpretation. You'll remember that the Civil Rights Act that was given to the black people, signed by Lyndon Baines Johnson
Yes.
after the death of John F. Kennedy, that was an executive order. So an executive order gave blacks their civil rights. You remember that?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Despite what the law said or the Constitution or whatever said.
Because there was an inference that can Donald Trump just change things what the Constitution actually says.
Right. What his team is going to look for is interpretations. All right. They're going to look for interpretation. So we'll see what their argument is. Sometimes there's the law and then there's the spirit of the law.
Yeah.
We saw it in the case even here in the Bahamas when Hubert Ingram was sued by Perry Christie because he put a senator in place that should not have been an F&M senator when Perry Christie felt that it was an F&M senator. So he sued. Ingram said, the law says I only have to consult with you.
Yes.
It doesn't say I have to do what you say.
Mm-hmm.
And so Perry Christie said, no, but that's not the spirit of the law. And so Perry Christie sued, and the courts agreed with Perry Christie that that's, regardless of what that says, that's not the spirit of the law.
Understood.
You can't just do what you're doing. And they forced Ingram to move who he was moving. The law always also gives the government the right to make laws, whatever laws they want, Parliament. But it doesn't give them the right to take the power away from magistrates or judges. And so when Ingram did a law about the minimum punishment for possessing a gun and bullets, they said that he was taking away the discretion of the magistrate. And so the court said, no, you can't, Ingram, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the law says that you can make whatever law you want because you're the parliament, you can't do it in this way that you're doing it.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be left for interpretation. And, we don't have enough time for me to break it down, my full opinion on the interpretation. But I will tell you, he is doing what's in the best interest for their country. It has already caused less people to come to the border. So even if it doesn't work the way he wants it to work on land, less people are trying to cross the border. Yeah. So that has already changed things. And now they're rounding up the bad guys, the criminals, etc., that you don't want in your country. In the Bahamas, the gang members are already coming here. They're already here in the Bahamas, hiding out and already operating in this country. Drugs is being smuggled through our country. Guns are being smuggled to and through our country. And so our country is in turmoil because of the same issues that they're having. And we are going to need strong leadership to address this and deal with this.
All right. Let me just run here and make this phone call. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Hey, good evening. How are you doing, Steve?
All is well. Everything is good.
Good. Good evening to you. Yes, how are you doing, Mr. Ben?
I'm good.
Great. Good evening to the nation. I just made an inquiry with reference to some information you read off earlier regarding the Bahamas receiving, 374 migrants and citizens who were repatriated from the U.S. Right, Steve?
No. Yeah, I said that was something I came by text information.
That's false information. That's all I wanted to call to express.
That's not so.
That is not true.
That came from a big reliable sources,
That's misinformation.
I hear you.
Misinformation from the highest order.
Okay.
All right, Brother McKinney.
Okay, that's all you wanted to call on.
Yeah, that's all. I'm listening to the conversation.
You had no reflections about what Fred Mitchell had to say.
Yeah, but if I get out of it just for a moment, because I'm running into the situation over here, but at UB. fully support not only President Trump, any leader of any country who is seeking to bring into alignment for the best interests of its citizenry, national security, protection of its borders, the reduction of crime, right, and the quality of life for its citizens and residents, immigration policies and laws, especially if they are perceived or out of control. Either way, right? And so I fully support that. But at the same time, like I've also expressed, these are matters of pronouncements from the president that still has to go through the levels of rigorous scrutiny with the courts of the United States of America. However, that aside, I still support any leader of any country who seeks to bring into full alignment its immigration situation.
Even the Bahamas, right?
Especially in my country, where I'm a citizen. If you recall, Steve, looking at immigration from another perspective, we had a serious problem over there on Abaco with Hurricane Dorian, where we had dozens, hundreds of people missing, thousands of people perhaps missing, and we were unable to account for many of them. We buried people in unmarked graves, migrants, many of them, and we were unable to account for them. So this immigration situation, Steve, not only on the education front or access to the hospital front or access to utilities front is a challenge. It's a challenge from the perspective of national security. It's a challenge from the perspective of
I'm glad to hear you say that.
It's a challenge as it relates to knowing who is in your country to be able to account for them and take responsibility for them.
Well,
Pardon me?
No, I believe now that the government, having understanding what's happening right now from the Honorable Minister Fred Mitchell,
right,
they now see the dynamics of this whole matter, and they see how serious this matter really is without actually saying it. But they know now that this is something that they've got to deal with. And I've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks and months and years, immigration is the problem of the Bahamas, and we have to fix it.
Steve, I heard you earlier when you were talking about fallen national hero signatory to the Constitution, right? And the conversations that you all have been having related to immigration. And,
You talk about
what's your movement called again? The other movement that's taking the government to court.
Oh, that's the Patriots.
The Patriots.
Right.
However, Steve, we have been having conversations going back pretty much 20 years on your station. Long before those conversations with the individuals from the Patriots and long before Freedom Fighter on your show. We've been having those conversations.
Who, Dr. L. Donaldson?
Oh, yeah, Dr. Donaldson. And one of the things that I've always said to you and to the nation is that we need to bring structure to our immigration challenge in this country. We need to have policies that relate to understanding what our national needs are in the country and tying the immigration policy into the national needs in the best way humanly possible, in the smartest way humanly possible, in the best economic way humanly possible, in the best legal way and social way humanly possible. See, because as it relates to our country, we are a small island developing state. Steve, we import close to 100% of everything in our country.
Tell me about it.
It's very expensive to live and operate in this country. In order for us to reduce the cost on certain fronts, we must use migration. But how we use it is what's going to either help us to thrive or help to worsen and kill our situation in the country.
Understood. Appreciate it. Okay, thank you very kindly. Oh boy, it's one of those days again. Good afternoon, caller. How are you?
Good day, Steve. What's going on? This guy.
Yes, this is I. How you doing? What's going on, my friend?
Everything's cool, man. The day against Lincoln Bean.
I got Lincoln Bean right in the studio today with me, man.
Yeah, man. About this Trump shit. Maybe when, like I said, when people see all these people weren't really coming back home, and some citizenship been given away behind our back, they might make us something. They got to make us something.
You think so?
But let me tell you something. You see Brave them looking at this like, oh my, look all these voters coming back home.
You already think so? You already think that's what they're looking at? They're saying voters coming. They ain't worried about the Haitian. They see voters coming.
They see voters
Come now.
We passport, and you see, and you got to be in passport. That means you could vote in the election. But if the government was serious, the government would let them know, them foreign immigrants. Listen, the fact that we give you a passport and citizenship and you go in America and break the immigration laws, and you
penalize it.
We take in the passport from you,
but that's a good
citizenship from you.
That's a good thing to
and
do.
you going straight home for breaking the law, for going over there and breaking the
You think that they would do that? No, you think that they would really do that? But they should do that.
But they should do that. You understand? They should put that out there now and let them know. See, what plenty of them could do is start to jump on the plane without Trump sending them back home. They don't see the right on the board.
Yeah, well, that's
Right?
that's exactly what happened. That's what's happening today. See, what is actually happening now is that everybody now knows that if you got your blue back, you can jump on a plane and hop that plane and get back home. You see, if you are free, if you're not in jail and that kind of stuff, you can get back home. You can use your passport now to get back home. And that means that the Bahamas will become even more flooded because you'll have people returning now back home where they were not going to be returning in the first place, because when they got that passport, they wanted to go to the States and they wasn't coming back here. You see what I'm saying? So we have a double whammy on our case at this particular time. Yeah.
And you know the sad thing about it, right? The immigrants who come to our country, like the Asians and all of them, right? They don't mind getting permanent resident. They don't mind getting wait permit and all that.
I don't think so. I think that they
don't care about being citizens for better construction in this country.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Citizenship, the Haitians and immigrants.
But who is selling it out? See, I hear what you're saying, and I think you're right. But who is selling out the citizenship? Who's selling that out? See, you keep saying, we all keep saying the politician, but let's look at this thing really, really soberly and carefully. Who in immigration is behind this whole measure? Because I keep telling you all, it's not just some politicians, Some other people are involved in this thing what they're dealing with in this country that has put this whole country in jeopardy. They got to be the immigration officers. They got to be, yes, that's what it's got to be, somewhere in there, because they know the ins and outs of that place.
But if the government was serious, right, it's a good time now to find out who's who and who says you this and who gives you that. You understand? You don't let them involved, but the government ain't trying to find out who involved, because when you look either that's the supporters, they connected to them. They know what's going on. They know what's going on. Listen, in the New Bahamas, there's plenty of these agents who can give them up and let them know, listen to me. Tell us who said you this, who give you this. And your papers, you might get the right papers as a resident. Not many of them will give them up in the right time somewhere.
I hear you. We'll see.
All right, my brother.
I appreciate the call.
All right.
Yeah. Lincoln Bain, he has a good point,
Yes, he does.
He does. I don't know how we're going to deal with it, but we have to deal with it and deal with it effectively, because, see, I get the image from Mr. Mitchell just now on that clip that I played for you today. That was a clip that was just done 6:20 this afternoon during Hard Copy's time. I'm saying to you, listen, man, I get the picture that Mr. Mitchell knows exactly what is now happening, and I believe that they are all now waking up to what's really on arrival here in the Bahamas. I believe that they're waking up to that. So they've got to do some things like what the young man said just now. Investigate right now to find out exactly who's been doing what in immigration, and who are at the bottom of this whole matter, this whole thing that's been really wrecking the Bahamas, and deal with it effectively. Some people got to lose some jobs. Some people got to go home. We have messed up this country. Believe it or not, we have messed up this country because we did things that are just totally fraudulent. We did it before the world. We ain't got no shame. You all should feel ashamed of yourself. We messed up the world. All them crooked JPs and stuff who've been doing these affidavits and stuff, You all are all a part of this whole thing.
Yes.
And the immigration officers, those people in high society, those people who had come through the system and done all these crazy things. I told you we're selling out this country. And here it is, Donald Trump has come on the scene. And it takes him to do some things that has been very, very radical now, to the point where we have to respond based upon his being so, what you may call irrational. But the man is right. Mr. Mitchell went the great lengths to say how right he is, He said that, he said that's the domestic policy of the United States, that we in their business and we can't get in their business. And he's right about that.
Yeah, he's right about that part, but he also went to great length to say that what Trump is doing is unconstitutional and there's going to be court cases to stop it.
Yes, he did say that.
Yeah, and of course, by saying that he's getting in their business, that's not his place. As a diplomat, he should just leave it alone. But, I will say that what Trump is doing, that we're going to be doing the same thing here, and we're going to be protecting our country. Now, we know if the PLP-FNM gets back in, that's not going to happen, and there will be no future country for Bahamians. All right, it's going to be over.
So
and this is why we're taking
exactly,
it seriously.
What exactly are you going to do? I mean, first you're going to get rid of this whole thing about this Nationality Act. I understand that. That's very clear. That's very sobering. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can also look at this thing and amplify it by saying that we will bring a referendum on the Nationality Act and make it law. But I don't suppose that you'd be the person to do that, because you would be defeating the purpose of what the whole thing is all about. The Constitution is the official law of the country, and the Nationality Act has no existence to stand beside the Constitution. Everything else will fall away. That becomes invalid, and that's what I'm saying. And so I agree with that you'll make sure that the Constitution reigns supreme and that Nationality Act is no more, because it is not a law. See, that never was passed in the House of Assembly. That never was passed by the 3/4 that they need in the House of Assembly through a referendum. That never happened. So that's why it's illegal. That's why it's a foreign thing. That's why it's fraudulent.
Yeah, Steve, what the powerful people have realized is that being an activist is not going to necessarily bring change. Taking something to court is not necessarily going to bring change.
Understood.
They realize that funding and controlling the politician, the man with the pen, or the men with the pen,
yes,
that is what brings change. And so that is why they lobby to make sure that the persons they want to put the laws in place that they want are in the seat. All right? They put their puppets there, and that's what we're experiencing. That's what I believe Fred Smith and them are trying to do with Michael Pintard, to put their man in the seat to get their way, Brent Timothy and them, so they could get Andrus, etc. So they want to put their man in the seat with the pen. And so if we want to bring change in this country, we got to give the pen to someone who is going to fight on behalf of the Bahamian people and protect this nation. All right? Because once you have a government that is going to do these things, you don't need the courts. You can fight something in court for 15, 20 years, and that's what the powerful people realize. That's a waste of time. But guess what? The man with the pen also appoints the judges. And so the judges sometimes lean, we feel, in the direction of the man with the pen. All right? And so they realize that, and that's really what's happening. So all we need to do is get rid of this crooked FNM and PLP. They've been failing us. They're going to fail us on immigration. They've been failing us on immigration. So we got to make this make sense. All right? And so we got to give someone else the pen and give them a chance to do what we need to do in this country.
You think that the people are now gravitating to what you're talking about now, and they're seeing what you're saying, and you can feel their presence. In other words, can you feel their presence around you?
Like never before.
Yeah,
like never before. I've never experienced this. Everywhere we go, this is what we're hearing. We're on the ground, and literally we're doing surveys and polls, and literally more than 90% of the people that we're experiencing are saying that they're going with us. I don't know what that's going to translate to at the end of the day, but that's literally, I could show you the numbers. More than 90% of the people are saying that they are going with the COI. They're tired of the PLP and FNM.
Of course, a lot of this is because a lot of people, too, have not come right out and spoken it and say, that's what I can do. And they're not wild about it. They're just quietly, carefully planning and doing their thing. That's what you're saying to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't expect that they're going to be in the mood for just showing themselves off and say, we would COI and that's that. And they have no difficulty with it. There are people there who are still protecting certain things and wanting to make sure they just a sneaky kind of like a COI nonetheless, but they're sneaking their way right in there to make sure that people know that we COI and just keep it quiet, but be COI. That's what they're saying. So when you talk about this 90% of people, that's a good bit of people you're talking about to throw support behind this new political party that's called the COI, and it's a very, very good party. I see the events that you all are having, and you seem to be out front with a number of things. But at the
I'm going to show you recent interactions. All right.
Okay.
You see that bar chart in front of you?
Yes.
This is digital info that we're taking.
Okay.
All right. That high number, you see that tall one?
Right.
That's people who are 100%. Let me see if I can show that here. Yeah, that's people who are. Let me put this in front of you. The lighting.
Yeah. Oh,
that first bar right there. That's people who are 100% going to vote for the COI, guaranteed. All right. The next one who are likely to vote for the COI. That's the next one right there. The one in the middle is people who are saying they're undecided. And those two small little things right there are people who are unlikely to vote for us or who are not going to vote for us. Right now, what we're experiencing is more than 90%. I was like 95%, etc., who are saying that they are going to vote for us or are likely to vote for us. All right. And so we're talking from facts. All right. Based on persons we have had conversations with and polls that we're putting door to door. All right. People are ready for change. Now, a lot of people don't want to be victimized. They're just waiting to go. So when you see Bahamians quiet, you know something about to happen.
It's not good news.
When you see people that ain't out there protesting, that's when you're in trouble. That's when you're in trouble. All right. And so that's what we're experiencing. People are listen, we tired of them. This brave crew, they didn't mess up. That's it.
See, everywhere I go, I get that same thing, though. I go to the barber shops, I go to the food stores. People are just bending my ear. They're just saying things to me. And I'm like, this must be a serious thing. And that's why I said, I've got to go and see if I can get Lincoln Bain to talk about what's actually happening. Because at the same time, these things, you have to take these things serious. Because the truth is, people are going to speak their minds, even if they just speak it to you and not on camera. They're going to speak their minds.
Yeah.
And they're saying things like, this is the worst time they've ever had. And, sometimes I don't really like what they say, but the point is this. Is it the worst time they've had? Really? Maybe it is. And if it is, with the high inflation, with the high crime, with the high, all these things that's going on, the government of the Bahamas is going to have to do some very serious, sobering research to get this thing right.
No, they just need to resign. They just need to get lost. Ring the bell or resign. That's all we need them to do.
I'm still on the airpad of future. Otherwise, you're going to have to call me back if you want to get on the air. I'll put you on. Thank you, sir. Okay.
All right. Someone had called, about, the immigration situation, and they talked about the Crown Land, how we went there and fought, and how they brought the military in the back there for us, but wouldn't touch the illegal immigrants and stuff, and we did fight, and now we're seeing that the government, although they lost that round, now they're coming back. They have another trick. What they're now trying to do, we had a man of Haitian descent. Come to that area recently and say that this is political season, they're taking this serious, and that what Brave Davis is now doing is cutting up that same land like subdivision to give it to their people. All right? And he came and he showed us, not us, but the people who were there, a map to say, Brave cutting this up and giving this to us. All right? So whereas while we were there, you saw the press conference saying, oh, they on the well fields, and this the well fields, and this a preserve area and all that. Now all of a sudden they don't care about that. And Haitian man, a man of Haitian descent, all right, I have his picture and everything, came there and told the people, we coming to break down y'all now. All right, we could break down whoever here. Brave is going to do it. and he giving this land to us. Some Bahamians could get some too, but this land could be for us because it was supposed to be for us from the break. This is what we experienced last week. All right? This how serious this country is. This how serious Brave Davis is fighting these people. Bahamians get nothing in this country. Nothing. So for years, we've been fighting for Crown land while they selling it off, all our keys and everything to the foreigners, and while they let the illegal immigrants come and take all our land. And then their children grow up and become Bahamian citizens. So they apply for it and they get the Crown land. And then they allow the other immigrants to come and be on the land so that the government can say, oh, no, that's Bahamian own that. Bahamian giving it to them, not telling you that that's a Bahamian of Asian descent. That's doing it. Just saying that that's Bahamian. But we always get shared out. I am tired of Bahamians being put last in this country. I am tired of it. All right? I'm sick of having to fight for Bahamians in our country. Our government should be doing that. They should wake up every day with us on their mind. But I am in a battle to treat Bahamians like royalty. All right? So a Haitian man came to me, and I said this publicly, I said this on the news, I said it on my live, and said, listen, yeah, you move us from making coal there and you shoot your gun in there, but we taking your gun. Remember I said that? The Haitian man told me that. Mm-hmm. Now, I met with the commissioner, me and Maria Daxon, I was Clayton with Anna, and the commissioner said, no, we ain't see where you commit no crime. You ain't do nothing wrong. I giving you the gun back. The Haitian man said, no, we taking your gun. You can see who run this country. I said that. And then the commissioner sent a letter, say, hey, we taking your guns, eh? I said, I know, the Haitian man told me that. That y'all was going to be doing that. You see how this country is going? This country is going in the wrong direction. I just had to go on Cabbage Beach a couple of days ago because now after Brave promised the people how he's going to fight for them and how disgusting it was for ministers to allow this to happen to them and to allow these people to be bullied and move around. And now Brave Davis letting it happen. They doing it.
Let me ask you something else. Let me ask you about the media's coverage of Lincoln Day and the COI and people like that, because you've gotten some good people to support and as candidates who are going to be running in the upcoming elections. What's the situation that's happening with the national media? You getting the kind of coverage that you're supposed to be getting now because you're now a player on the block. I mean, obviously, people are looking to you and they're saying that they believe that you can compete with these guys, even if they say you can only compete. The point is, I wonder how much is the media zeroing in on you and what the operations of what your party is doing to make sure that you are in full reign of what's being presented come election day.
Yeah, so the media has been bought out. Everyone sees that. Anyone with a little bit of common sense is seeing that all of the strong media personalities, they're moved out of place. You name them, they've moved them out of place, give them jobs or send them away, etc. So that the media is now run by a lot of rookies who aren't going to take any risks and don't have a real independent voice. And so they've done that. I had experience this weekend when we went to Cabbage Beach to fight for those people. One news station came, and I thanked them for that. And they interviewed me, and then they interviewed the people, and we said some things on there. And when the report was actually aired, they erased me totally from that. Now they did most of the interview with me, and they did short interviews with the vendors. But when they played it, they erased me from there. And this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it seem like we don't exist. They're trying to ignore us. Even on some of the talk shows, when they have discussions about politics, they try to avoid talking about us. Or if they do, they'll try to talk about us in a negative light. But it shows that they have no political knowledge if they can talk about anything in this country without talking about the COI. Because we have controlled what the news covers. Yeah, we have controlled over these years what the news covers. All right. Even though they will cover a story but not mention that it was us, we have controlled what the news covers in this country for quite some time. And what they're doing is pretending that we don't exist, because that's the strategy, making it seem like there's only the FNM and PLP. Everything Pintard says, they make a news story out of it. I mean, the most ridiculous things. And then they will have fights between the two of them, hoping that people just take a side and say, I is Saxon, I is Valley, I is Lakers, I is Boston. They're hoping that happens with the PLP and FNM, and that people would not consider the COI, but they don't know what's happening on the ground. The media has not been in control of what happens in this country for quite some time.
Very true.
But it's amazing that they don't notice that. They think that just talking bad about me and slandering me and or ignoring me is going to change the electorate. It didn't work with Trump. He was a good example of that. And it's not going to work with us because people see what's going on. They see that the media is controlled. They see it. And so no one is falling for their tricks anymore. And so we are going to do what we have to do. We're going to remain on the ground and we're going to touch door to door.
Why can't they just be an independent voice and just report the news? I mean, we don't make the news. We report the news, you know.
Media has to make money, so they're under control. And the owners of the media houses were made offers. You know, you see Jones is an ambassador. You see Sabas and those who were made ambassadors. You see what's happening with Anthony Ferguson, etc. And so the media has been controlled, you see. And so they have their interests and they're going to do what's in their interests. And so I can't blame them for that, but I do blame the crooked politicians who be paying. But we are mostly, I blame us because we keep allowing this to happen, you see. But we are going to fight, and we're going to fight for this country. And there's no one else out there fighting for this country. Nobody else.
What do you say to people right now who are listening into this broadcast today? And your final words, if you wanted to say something to them today, what would it be? Because really, the truth is, we got a crisis on our hand with the Haitian people coming back, and we got even more crisis on our hands with inflations and all that kind of stuff. What do you say to the people? Because I know at the end of the day, this election has to count for something. You said it earlier. You said this may be the last election that we have full control of, meaning that Bahamians will be predominantly included in this particular one. But the next one, nothing is going to happen. If any of the two parties win this election this time around, that's what you say to me. What would you say to people now? Because I think people need to be more alert and more sober to deal with what is actually happening right now in our country. We have to take this thing to heart now. This is for our children. This is for them. These is for the future of those little children. I got two little grandboys there. And the point is this, and a little granddaughter. I want to make sure that at the end of the day, something is going to happen in a way for them. They can have equal rights, equal shares, and everything else. And they must have a chance as a Bahamian. That's what I want to see happen. But I don't know what people think out there these days because maybe people don't really care. But as a family man, and I'm a family man, as a family man, I care about what's going to happen to the overall well-being of this society. And I'm praying for that every night and asking God to bless these people who, in fact, are in charge of the country, that they may be put on the right road to see what is right to do. And I'm praying for that. But, of course, prayer without works is dead. I know that. But what do you see as you tell the people today that you want them to understand what is at stake? That's perhaps the real question. What's at stake if this doesn't happen the way it should be happening?
Steve, I have no problem with a Haitian man or woman who is fighting to better their children, fighting for their children. I have no problem with that. That's human nature. But I do have a problem with a Bahamian man or woman who would not fight for their children and would let their children be replaced by others, that would let their children suffer because someone else is fighting harder for their children than we are fighting for ours. I have a problem with that. And I'm calling on every Bahamian to realize that this is our country. And slowly but surely, after every election, we're losing it more and more. It's slipping further and further away from us because we refuse to fight for this. And they are doing it gradually, like the way you boil a frog. Just increase the heat gradually. And that's what they're doing to us. And we're not paying attention. And our politicians are making money from everything that ails us, including illegal immigration. And that's why they're doing it. They're selling out their birthright. There are some people who say that, oh, the Israelis shouldn't do what they're doing to the Palestinians. They came and took over those people's land. But the truth of the matter is, when the Israelis came, they came and got the barren land that you could hardly grow on. And they found new technologies to be able to grow on that land.
Absolutely.
And then slowly but surely, they went and bought land from the Palestinians who didn't see the value in their land. This barren land, don't worry about that, we'll take this. And they slowly bought land from them and they sold themselves out. A lot of the Palestinians sold themselves out. I'm not saying that some taking over didn't happen, but for the most part, a lot of the land, they sold themselves out.
Cleverly approached the situation and dealt with it.
Yes. And now they are suffering because they sold themselves out, or they allowed their leaders to sell them out. Haiti, we always celebrate Haiti and say they were the first Black republic. They were the first Blacks to fight for their freedom. But the truth of the matter, that's not the full story. The full story is that they did fight and overthrow the people who were keeping them, not the army, just the people who were there locally. And then Napoleon sent his ships and said, listen, these ships coming, and if y'all don't pay us reparations, like we don't want y'all no more. We don't want y'all be our slaves no more. We want y'all pay us. So the money we was going to make from slaving y'all going to now pay us that. And we don't have to worry about having to slave y'all.
Get our hand and
right. And so they
way.
told them, you could pay us this amount of money. And the Haitians actually overthrew and killed the person who freed them, who fought, who led the fight to free them. And they sold themselves to France. And that them making that decision to sell themselves instead of standing up and fighting is affecting them to this day.
Right to this day.
So you can blame the colonialists or you can blame them for not fighting. I like the story of the American Indians. They fought. They realized, the Europeans realized, no matter how much we fight these American Indians, we can't win. They willing to die. You can't defeat someone who is willing to die. You ain't gonna win that war. And to this day, they have their own territories. They didn't win the Greater War, but they stood up and they have their own territories. They can do their own thing. They're free of taxes, and every single Native American gets a share. Like what we're talking about, like a sovereign wealth fund, they get a piece of the pie from what that casino make and anything on their land. They get a piece of the pie just for being Native American, because they decided to stand up and fight. So much so that the Europeans said, we can't fool with these Indians no more. Let's bring in the Africans, because they ain't gonna fight. And we could easily get them to sell out each other. So let's bring the Africans and let them be the slaves, because these local Indians, this ain't making no sense. Plus, they could just escape, because this home for them. The Africans can't get back over the water.
They know the territory.
Yeah. So these ones can fight. The Africans, they ain't gonna fight. We gotta fight, Steve. Now, Marcus Garvey came to the Bahamas, and he after meeting us, he said that the Bahamians will be the last to wake up, but the first to rise up. Steve, it's time to rise up. And I'm calling on all Bahamians to rise up. Make a better Bahamas for all of us. It's time for us to be royalty in our country. And that is the mission that we are on. We're going to be royals, and we're going to live like royals. Royals have good health care. We're going to provide good health care for our people. Royals have good education. We need good education. Royals don't experience crime. They don't. And so we're going to eradicate crime to make Bahamians live like royals. Royals aren't harassed by police officers or any officials. Royals can afford food, and they eat the best of food. And so we're going to transform agriculture and everything else in this country. Royals have access to capital. And so we're going to make sure that our people have access to capital to rebuild this country. We are going to be the royals of this nation. Royals don't answer to the politician. The politicians answer to the royals. And that's how we're going to change the game. And we're going to have island states and city government so that we are the royals and we make the decision on what happens in our country. Because royals don't answer to politicians. Politicians answer to royals. Absolutely. And so we're going to be royal in our country, and royals are put first in their country. And that's what's going to happen. Bahamians are going to be put first.
Thank you so much. Hello, good afternoon, caller. How are you?
Very good, Steve. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Good evening, my brother.
I just wanted to thank you. I just wanted to make a little comment here regarding the matter of the Haitians. My Haitian friends in the U.S. who are in their 30s and 40s have totally given up on any hope for Haiti. These are people who are in the prime of their lives. As far as they're concerned, the country will never regain any sense of stability, and they're just hopeless about the future of Haiti. That said, we cannot turn the Haitians into behaviors. We need to be very clear-minded about that. The Haitians are a very strong people who know who they are. They see themselves, they regard themselves as uniquely Haitian in a very deep way, in a way that we can't even understand. And we need to be clear-minded about the situation. By that I mean, we're in over our head. We're dealing with a matter that's bigger than us, bigger than we understand. And we know that because all we have to do is look at the Dominicans. The Dominicans get it. The Dominicans understand the threat that they're facing. Okay? And the Dominicans are doing what they have to do. Perhaps we should send a team over to the DR to find out, sit down with the Dominicans, and have them tell us just how dangerous the situation is, because we don't seem to get it.
I understand you clearly.
Okay? We're dealing with a matter that's so complicated and so complex, and we're dealing with a danger. If I may, Steve, indulge me for another half a minute. Let's look at the comment that the minister, Mr. Monroe, made to the religious leaders about 2 months ago, where he said that a gang leader in Haiti murdered 180 seniors in Haiti because he is convinced that one of them committed opiate on his son and caused the demise of his son. Right? So here you have a leader, somebody who's a leader in Haiti, so convinced that there are people who are, using the practice of Satan worshiping, what we call voodoo, to destroy the lives of people without even touching them. Now, if this guy's prepared to kill 180 of his own people, how is it that we don't realize that they're doing something to us? They're not there playing this game. If they have the power, you don't have to believe in voodoo. They do. They do to the point where he's going to murder 180. You think they're not
doing their thing?
This devil worship on us. Sure, they're destroying the lives of our people. They are doing that. The devil is real. They practice, and they have indeed married Catholicism and Satan worshiping into a cabal that they can't even separate anymore. And they use this process to advance themselves. They put a spell on us. We don't even understand how dangerous the situation is.
You think they got a spell on the Bahamas? You think they got a spell on the Bahamas?
100%. We do not understand. All we have to do is look at the Dominicans. The Dominicans get it. The Dominicans understand that they're dealing with the devil himself, and there's no way to compromise with them. There's no way to work with them. We have to get them out. We, on the other hand, think that listen, but maybe we'll solve it down the road someday. That's because
Yeah.
And even though, let me give you an example. The young lady who attacked the teacher there at the school the other day, clearly is a Haitian national. Her last name is Charles. We won't even, we're saying we need to fix the schools, we need to have more discipline, but we won't even call out the fact that there are people among us who are tearing the country down, who are poisoning the culture, who are poisoning everything, the air, the water. Do you think if they're going down the street and they have some garbage there, they're going to care about, what it looks like, throwing it out? These people do not love us. They don't love the country. They understand that we are trying to save our country, and they want to take it over. And they have no qualms destroying us and the entire nation, bring the whole thing down with just like it is in Haiti. That's what they do. That's their ammo. When you worship the devil, you can't build worshiping the devil. Or you can worship the devil, but all you're going to get is destruction and despair and disaster, just like what they have in Haiti. I mean, how dare Haitians say they're going to take over Bahamas? You don't have any history of running a successful nation. You have over 200 years and you have not built a successful country. Why is it that you think you're suddenly going to do it outside of the country? No. That's why we need to sit down with the Dominicans. Send isn't Paul McKinney over there? They ain't going to talk to me or you, Steve. We're too dark. We'll talk to a light-skinned couple. Let them tell us what we're really up against.
I got you, sir.
Okay, because you remember the Dominicans are racist.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're up against. We need to know, and we need to understand that we're dealing with the devil himself.
I appreciate your call. I thank you very much. And I hear what you're saying, and we will, in fact, deal with it. Thank you so much.
Steve,
thank you.
Steve, I heard him say the Dominicans are racist. I don't know Dominicans to be racist. A lot of Bahamians, I see the time, a lot of Bahamians go there and they live. They, just like us, they allow the Haitians to come in, take care of them, et cetera, let them live there. Over 1 million of them are still there. But when they realized that these persons were starting to interfere with their politics and interfere with their country, they had to take a stand. And they did that for their best interest. That wasn't about being racist because they lived with them.
No, he was talking about the Dominicans. He's saying we cannot talk and we too dark.
I understand what he was saying, but I was just making sure I put that part in there. And I also wanted to confirm for you, I did some checks with executives at Bahamas Air and others. I cross-checked it. There were flights scheduled for today to bring those persons in. The flight was canceled in the 9th hour. The problem that you're going to have with this flight, that means it's going to happen. The problem that you're going to have with this flight is that there are persons who are going to be coming to this country that are not necessarily Bahamian.
Yeah.
There are some Bahamians with Bahamian passport, Bahamians of other descent, of Asian descent, but the problem is there's others on that plane.
Yeah.
And so we are going to be accepting hundreds of them.
So we have to be careful who they allow on our plane.
These are the bad guys.
And that's right. They're trying to get
They're
into the Bahamas.
only deporting the bad guys.
If that is the case now that you did the cross-check on it and they didn't let it happen there, but it was going to happen eventually.
No, something happened to stop it in the 9th hour.
Right.
Nothing to do with Brave them standing or doing nothing like that. This flight is going to happen. Yes. All right. But I just checked. It was scheduled for the day. But in the 9th hour, 11th hour, it was stopped. But this is going to happen. And we are going to be accepting these criminals into our country who don't belong here.
Kind of stay here.
Yeah.
I know. Trouble. In the game, we've got to go. It's right. 7:41. My Lord. I can get Friday night. Thank you so much for being here today. It's been very, very good. We shall cut this down this evening for the show back later on at 10 o'clock and bring it to you so that you can understand exactly what's been happening here at that Lincoln Maine. Thank you very much, Mr. Leader of the COI. You must do well.
Thank you.
You must do well, and you must keep steady as you go, because people are depending upon you. Whether you like it or not, my brother, there are many people who are depending upon you. We're depending upon you to be in good health, to be in good strength, to keep steady, and to keep moving forward. And that's what the people are looking for. And so I leave that with you tonight as we say goodbye again this time around. All right?
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you kindly. Now, that's our show for the day. A little bit late, but nonetheless, we got it done.